In 2016, I was married for about 5.5 years to the man that I really believed was the love of my life. I mean, we were married happily in a beautiful little yellow house in St. Paul, with a corner lot and a white picket fence. Quite literally, we had the white picket fence. And it was really the life that I believe that God had me in, that I loved. And I knew that our marriage wasn't perfect, but even in the imperfect, I could choose to love him. And I was called into that relationship. That's what I believed. And it wasn't until October of that year that I discovered his long-term affair. And it was so painful to come upon this knowledge, really having no idea, really, really caught off guard. And I confronted him with that news, and he couldn't deny it. It turned out that the relationship began even before we were married. Mm-hmm. And it was extensive and serious. And even with all of that knowledge, I grew up in the church, and I did ministry with my then husband. And I knew that God is a healer, that he is a redeemer, that he takes broken things and he makes beautiful things out of them. And I fully believed that. So I took that knowledge and I said, okay, well, God's going to heal our marriage. He's going to heal this and he's going to make it beautiful. And unfortunately, that is not what my ex-husband chose to walk into. And so I actually began a very painful divorce process at 26 years old. And it was excruciatingly painful to walk that road, something I never imagined that I would walk. And as I was doing that, I was so broken in my emotions. I was sleeping 3 hours a night on average. I was having frequent panic attacks, really struggling with depression and anxiety. And everywhere I would go in the Twin Cities where I lived at the time, and I still live in the Twin Cities, I would drive past restaurants and I would turn on the radio and I would hear a song that reminded me of him. And there was all of these things around me that also became broken. So I was having all these triggers in my life of these things that reminded me that my life was just not like it was supposed to be. And it was in that time that I really discovered and saw that that I was living in fear, in a sense. I felt like there was so much that was taken from me. And so I was kind of allowing that to hold me back. So I saw that, and I started making a list of all these things that felt painful, felt like I couldn't go back to them. And one by one, I went back to those places to reclaim them. And it was while I was doing that I really discovered and saw that God has already healed us, that he is a redeemer, that he is a restorer, that he takes broken things and he makes them new. He did that 2,000 years ago on the cross. And we have to live that way. We have to live like that is true and that he has redeemed us. And so by actively stepping back into places that felt painful and that felt hurtful, I discovered that that's where God meets us. He meets us in those broken things, and he brings and he extends that healing to us in the moment when we step in to live like it's real. And that was one of the many things that the Lord taught me. But I fully believe that, just like it says in Hosea 2:15, that God is so faithful to take our valley of trouble and make it a doorway of hope. That's what he does. He takes the broken valley of our life and he turns that into a doorway of hope that we lead into, that we're led into a beautiful life. And my life has not been perfect since my divorce, but it has been beautiful in the surrender to the Lord, that he is so faithful to meet us in all of the broken things. So I just want to speak to you guys. I wish I could see everyone watching this, but God loves you so much. And he will take that valley of trouble and he will make it a doorway of hope.